Download this code and get free GPT-4o from codegive.com, link in the description below. Sure. URL encoding is a mechanism for converting special characters in a URL into a format that can be transmitted over the internet. This is particularly important when a URL contains characters that are not allowed in URLs, such as spaces, punctuation, and non-ASCII characters. In Java, you can perform URL encoding using the java.net URL-encoder class. Overview of URL encoding. One purpose, URL encoding ensures that all characters in a URL are valid and properly formatted. It replaces unsafe ASCII characters with a % followed by 2 hexadecimal digits. 2 characters to encode. Spaces are typically encoded as %20 or plus, the latter for query parameters. Special symbols like asterisk and are also encoded. Non-ASCII characters are encoded using their UTF-8 representation. Using URL encoder in Java. The URL encoder class provides the encode method which you can use to encode strings. You can specify the character encoding, like UTF-8, to ensure proper encoding of characters. Example code. Here's a simple example that demonstrates how to URL encode a string in Java. Explanation of the code. 1. Import statements. We import unsupported encoding exception for handling encoding issues and URL encoder for encoding URLs. 2. Original string. We define a string that contains spaces and non-ASCII characters. 3. Encoding. We use the encode method of URL encoder to encode the original string. We specify UTF-8 as the character encoding. 4. Output. We print both the original and the encoded strings. Output. When you run the above code, you would see an output like this. Notes. The encoded string will replace spaces with plus, but %20 is also a valid encoding for spaces in URLs. The choice depends on the context, example query parameters. Always specify a character encoding, UTF-8 is preferred, when using URL encoder to avoid unsupported encoding exception. To decode a URL encoded string, you can use urldecoder.decode method in a similar way. Conclusion. URL encoding is an essential part of web development, especially when dealing with user input or dynamic URLs. The URL encoder class in Java makes it easy to ensure that your URLs are safe and correctly formatted.